Chapter 10. Life's Internal Secrets. Life processes. The processes that help the living beings to sustain themselves are called life processes. These processes include nutrition, respiration, excretion, transportation, reproduction, sensitivity, and growth. Energy for life processes. Living organisms require energy for carrying out their various life processes. They derive this energy from the food they eat. Food contains various components called nutrients. Types of nutrients. Nutrients are classified into three types based on their functions. Nutrients. 1. Carbohydrates and fats. Function: energy source. 2. Proteins. Function: bodybuilding. And 3. Vitamins and minerals. Function: protective and regulating. On the basis of chemical nature, the nutrients are classified into two types. 1. Inorganic nutrients. Plants obtain inorganic nutrients from the soil and atmosphere through the roots and leaves. These inorganic nutrients are then converted by the plants to organic compounds through the process of photosynthesis. These compounds are used for growth and development of various parts of the plant. 2. Organic nutrients. Carbon-containing chemical compounds of animal or plant origin, such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, etc., are called organic nutrients. Nutrition. The process of intake of nutrients and its utilization by an organism is called nutrition. A. Modes of nutrition. The way by which an organism obtains its food is termed as the mode of nutrition. There are two modes of nutrition, that is, autotrophic and heterotrophic. 1. Autotrophic nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which organisms synthesize their own organic food from simple inorganic substances is called autotrophic mode of nutrition. Organisms showing autotrophic mode of nutrition are called autotrophs. All green plants are autotrophs. 2. Heterotrophic nutrition. Organisms that depend upon other organisms for their food are called heterotrophs, and their mode of nutrition is called heterotrophic mode of nutrition. For example, all animals and fungi are heterotrophs. Types of heterotrophs. Heterotrophs can be classified into three types on the basis of their mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. 1. Breaking down the complex food into simple substances outside their body and then absorbing them. Examples: some fungi, yeast, mushrooms, and carnivorous plants. 2. breaking down whole food into simple substances inside their body. Examples: human beings, cow, cat, etc. 3. Deriving nutrition from host organism, plants or animals without killing them but harming them. Examples: parasites, external parasites, cuscuta, ticks, lice, leeches, etc. Internal parasites, tapeworms, etc. Steps of nutrition. With the increase in complexity of organisms, some of the organs of the body become specialized to perform specific functions. These specialized organs together constitute a complex digestive system. There are 5 main steps of nutrition found in all animals. Step 1. Ingestion, meaning taking in of food. Location: mouth. Step 2. Digestion, breaking down complex food into simpler components mechanically and with the help of enzymes. Location: mouth, stomach and intestine. Step 3. Absorption, absorbing soluble digested food into the blood. Location: intestine. Step 4. Assimilation, taking the absorbed food to the cells and tissues of the body for producing energy or for growth and development of the body, or store it for future use. Location: entire body. Step 5. Egestion, throwing the undigested and unabsorbed residues of food out of the body. Location: anus. Nutrition in human beings. The intake of food, digestion, absorption and associated processes take place with the help of specific organs in human beings. These organs constitute the digestive system and include the alimentary canal and digestive glands. Alimentary canal consists of a long muscular tube which starts with the mouth and includes the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. The alimentary canal also includes digestive glands such as salivary glands, liver, pancreas, gastric glands which help in digestion. Mouth. It is the foremost part of alimentary canal. The food is crushed here with the help of teeth. Salivary glands secrete saliva, which helps in crushing and converting the food in the form of bolus. Saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase, which partially digests starch, that is, breaks down the complex molecules of starch into simpler molecules of maltose. Thus, the digestion starts in the mouth. Esophagus. This partly digested food is carried down to the J-shaped stomach through a tube known as esophagus. Movement of food from the mouth to the stomach is assisted by rhythmic contraction and relaxation of muscles of the esophagus. This rhythmic movement is termed as peristaltic movement. Stomach. As food reaches the stomach, it stimulates the gastric glands present in the inner walls of the stomach to secrete gastric juice. Gastric juice comprises of three main components. A. Hydrochloric acid. This creates acidic medium for enzyme pepsin to digest proteins and also kills the microorganisms if present in the ingested food. B. Mucus. It forms a layer over the inner wall of the stomach, thereby protecting it from the action of acid and enzyme. And C. Pepsin. Enzyme pepsin helps in partial digestion of proteins. The muscular walls of the stomach churn the food and help in proper mixing of the food with gastric juices. Sphincter muscles at the junction of stomach and small intestine regulate the release of small amount of partly digested food into the small intestine. Small intestine. This is a long tube, about 5 to 6 meters in length, which fits into the compact space of the belly due to extensive coiling. The small intestine has a diameter smaller than the large intestine, hence it is called the small intestine. The length of the small intestine differs in different animals based on the type of food they eat. Small intestine receives pancreatic juice from the pancreas, intestinal juices from the walls of intestine, and bile juice from the liver. The partly digested food coming from the stomach is acidic in nature. It has to be made alkaline as the enzymes present in pancreatic and intestinal juices act only in alkaline medium. The liver, which is the largest gland of the body, secretes the bile juice, which is stored in the gallbladder. It is released into the small intestine as food enters the small intestine. Bile juice turns the acidic medium of food into alkaline and also breaks large fat globules into smaller ones, making it easier for the enzymes to act upon. Bile juice and pancreatic juice enter the intestine through a common duct. Pancreatic juice contains digestive enzymes like trypsin for digestion of proteins, lipase for digestion of fats, and pancreatic amylase for digestion of carbohydrates. The enzymes in the pancreatic juices convert the proteins to amino acids, complex carbohydrates to glucose, and fat to fatty acids and glycerol, thus completing the digestion process. All the components of food, that is, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, are completely digested and absorbed in the small intestine. The wall of the small intestine has numerous finger-like projections known as villi, which increase its surface area. The digested food is absorbed by these villi, which are richly supplied with blood vessels. The absorbed nutrients are taken to each and every cell of the body through the blood and utilized by all the cells for obtaining energy. Unused glucose is stored in the liver in the form of glycogen. The unabsorbed food, water and salts are passed on to the large intestine. Large intestine. It is about 1.5 meter in length and wider in diameter than the small intestine. It has no digestive function. The walls of the large intestine have villi, which absorb most of the water and salts. The remaining material converts into feces. The feces are excreted out of the body through the anus. This is known as egestion. This egestion is controlled by sphincter muscles. Summary of digestion in animals. 1. Alimentary canal. Two. Digestive glands. Nutrition in plants. Like animals, plants too need food for growth and energy. Green plants produce their food by the process of photosynthesis. In this process, the plants take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water from the soil and convert them into glucose, that is, carbohydrates, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Equation of photosynthesis. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide combined with 6 molecules of water to give 1 molecule of glucose, liberating 6 molecules of oxygen in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs only in green plants, with mostly of it done in the leaves and to a lesser extent in the green stems and floral parts. Chlorophyll, found in the chloroplasts, mostly on the surface of the leaves, gives the green color to the leaves and converts solar energy into chemical energy. The two raw materials. Water. It is absorbed by the root cells from the soil and transported to the leaves through the process of transpiration. Carbon dioxide. It enters into the leaves from the air through tiny pores present on the leaf surface known as stomata. Light energy absorbed by the chlorophyll molecules splits water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. Part of released oxygen is used by the plant for its own respiration, and the remaining is released into the air. Released hydrogen is used in reducing carbon dioxide molecule to glucose, that is, carbohydrates with the expense of energy in the form of ATP, that is, adenosine triphosphate. Part of glucose produced is used for providing energy to the plant, and the unutilized portion is stored in the form of starch. Besides carbohydrates, plants also need bodybuilding and regulating nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and magnesium, which are absorbed from the soil. Nitrogen is necessary for protein synthesis, especially while preparing seeds, fruits, etc. Activity 1. Let us perform an activity to find out if chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Firstly, we take a potted croton plant as it has leaves with green as well as other colors. Now, we keep this plant in a dark room for 3 days in order to make the plant utilize all the stored starch. Later on, keep the plant in sunlight for about 6 hours. Then, pluck a leaf off this plant and mark the green areas on it. Now, dip this leaf in boiling water for a few minutes in order to stop any further photosynthesis. Then, we immerse this leaf in a beaker containing alcohol. Now, we place this beaker in a water bath and heat it till the alcohol begins to boil. We see that the color of leaf turns pale white. Now, we immerse this leaf in a dilute solution of iodine for a few minutes. Bring it out and rinse off the iodine solution. We see that the marked regions of leaf, which were green earlier, turn blue-black in color, confirming the presence of starch in it, whereas the remaining region, which was not green earlier, does not gain that color, thus confirming absence of starch. Thus, we see that parts of the leaf which are devoid of chlorophyll show absence of starch. Hence, we conclude that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Activity 2. Now, we will perform an activity to find out if sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. We take 2 green potted plants of nearly the same size and keep one of them in the dark for 3 days in order to de-starch them. After 3 days, remove 1 leaf from each of these plants and perform the starch test. One of these leaves does not give positive starch test, confirming that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. Activity 3. Now we place each plant on a separate glass plate and keep potassium hydroxide in a watch glass by the side of one of the 2 plants. Potassium hydroxide absorbs carbon dioxide from the air around that plant. Now, we will cover both the plants with separate bell jars and seal the apparatus with Vaseline, making it airtight. Keep this setup in sunlight for 2 hours. Now, we pluck 1 leaf from each plant and perform the same starch test with iodine. We observe that the leaf from the plant which was kept along with potassium hydroxide fails the starch test, but the leaf from the other plant gives a positive starch test. Thus, we conclude that carbon dioxide is also necessary for photosynthesis. Respiration. It is the process involving release of energy from the digested food. Depending on the availability of oxygen, respiration is of 2 types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Respiration in the presence of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. Respiration in the absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. Respiration involves 2 distinct phases: external respiration or breathing and internal respiration or cellular respiration. Breathing involves intake of oxygen-rich air into the lungs and giving out of air containing carbon dioxide from the lungs to the atmosphere. It also involves the exchange of gases between blood capillaries surrounding the air sacs in the lungs. Cellular respiration involves the release of energy in the form of ATP. It occurs in the cytoplasm and mitochondria of the cells. Exchange of gases in animals. Animals have a variety of respiratory organs like gills, lungs, skin, etc. Aquatic animals mostly absorb oxygen dissolved in water. For example, fish take water through the mouth and release it through the gills, which are richly supplied with blood capillaries, and thus form the site of intake of dissolved oxygen into the blood by diffusion. The respiratory organs are different in different terrestrial animals, although the process of diffusion is the same. For example, earthworm breathes through skin, insects through spiracles, and birds breathe through their lungs. Respiratory tract in humans. The human respiratory system consists of nostrils, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs, and alveoli. The lungs are the respiratory organs in human beings. They lie in the thoracic cavity on either side of heart, protected by the rib cage. Air enters the human respiratory tract through the nostrils, where it is filtered with the help of fine hair lining the nostrils and conditioned, making it moist and warm. The dust particles present in air are trapped in the mucus. This filtered air now passes through pharynx, larynx, that is, the voice box, and trachea. The trachea, or the windpipe, has C-shaped cartilaginous rings which prevent the mucilaginous internal membrane from sticking together. The trachea divides into left and right bronchi in the thoracic region. Left bronchus enters the left lung, and the right bronchus enters the right lung, where each of them get further subdivided into smaller and smaller bronchioles, terminating into balloon-like structures called alveoli. Alveoli are tiny, membranous, sac-like structures. The thin walls of the alveoli are surrounded by a network of capillaries. Exchange of gases takes place between alveoli and blood capillaries across the thin walls.